Okay, welcome back everyone. What we're going to take a look at in this video is the Module 4 Individual Routine Business Letter Assignment Number 1. Now you've already received my critiques of your submissions. Those will return back to you. I've asked you to compare your submissions and my critique to this video, and if you still have some questions, let's go ahead and get together on that. Anyways, let's go ahead and talk about this assignment overall, and then break it down and eventually show you a final version. Let's go ahead. Now again, here's the situation that we have. Again, you are a special events manager for an organization called Bear Essentials. Now the company is going to have a corporate sales meeting, and what you need to do is find a hotel resort facility if you wish, that has the appropriate meeting rooms, AV equipment, and other requirements for this meeting. Now in this particular case, you are contacting a specific company called, or specific facility called the Bellagio Hotel and Casino, which in reality is real, exists in Las Vegas, and you have the information that is presented here that you need to share with them. Now there's a lot of information in here. In this particular situation, most of it will be useful in the development of your letter. So in this next slide, we're going to go ahead and take a look at the specifics that we probably should keep, and maybe those that we should probably delete. So let's go ahead and move on. Now, some specifics here that we want to have. Again, this is a routine letter. It's an information request. Now, again, it is a business letter, and you're requesting information from the Bellagio that hopefully they're going to be able to fulfill, and you'll be able to hold your sales meeting there. Now, again, you're not sold on the Bellagio. The Bellagio may be the one, it may not be the one. There are some specifics that you need, and some things you got to have. So we got to be careful how we express our interest in the facility. Next things we have here are some requirements, some gotta-haves, and a couple of nice-to-haves, and those that are required for further information as you see fit. Excuse me. And then finally, you need to know this information in a relatively short time. Therefore, we got to have that call for action, something very specific with not only a date, but maybe a method of relaying that information to you. So again, here is the situation. Now let's go ahead and see what should we share and not share. So from the very beginning, these are the lines, the red strikeouts indicate the information that is not useful for us. We should not inform the Bellagio that you are the recent hire as a special events manager. And there's two things. First of all, you don't have to mention you're a special events manager, because ideally what you would do is put that after your name in the closing, in the signature block area. Also, it is unwise to inform a potential client, if you wish, that you are recently hired. Now, granted, we probably should assume that everyone's going to treat you fairly, but in reality that's not necessarily the case. When you suggest you're the recently hired, you're the new kid on the block, this could put you at a disadvantage, particularly when it comes to negotiations and getting what you want. So as I've mentioned before, let's put on our poker faces and just let them kind of keep it neutral, tell them what they need to know, and move on. The other thing that I actually did cut out of here was due to the fact. Again, that's one of my 52 plague phrases and words, so let's not use that. Again, as I've mentioned before, I do incorporate a lot of information into these situations that you really don't need, and sometimes I take great pains to make sure that it is presented to you in ways that I don't want you to use, so you can interpret it and then write accordingly. So let's go ahead and move on here now. Now, the address information, I've already given it to you. It is located in green on this screen and is the Planning Facilities Manager at the Bellagio. And here's the address, the street, city, state, and zip. Now, what is missing is the name of the planning facilities manager. Now, again, in this day and age, there should be absolutely no reason why you should not send your correspondence, your communiques to an individual. Quite frankly, you should never send them to a title. And the reason for that is if there's no ownership in it, it may not be responded to. So if you do not know the name of the planning facilities manager, you can simply do a Google search and come up with the person who fits that particular corporate title. Now, if you don't have someone with that exact title, kind of guesstimate and pick a name of a person who is very close to the title. Again, the purpose is if it goes to a real person, they're going to get it, and if they are not the correct person, they will definitely forward it on to the correct person. Because if you don't get a response, I'm going to guess you're going to be calling them to find out what the holdup is. And if you call using the name of the original person and you get a hold of them and they weren't the right person, they will certainly forward you on to the correct person to talk to. So in this particular case, you need to come up with a name. Again, if you did a Google search for the Bellagio, you may find it. If not, you can always make up a name. Onward. The opening. Now, in the opening here, we want to keep the information direct and to the point. We want to give the purpose and maybe some background information, but again, certainly the purpose of the writing the letter as well as the purpose for the recipient of the letter to understand why they're reading it. And so I'll highlight, or in purple here I guess it is, some information you may want to certainly consider including. First of all, the name of the company, Bear Essentials. You also want to mention that the purpose is to find some kind of resort hotel that can accommodate your corporate sales meeting. And again, you want to arrange this conference within a certain time frame, to have this held in a certain time frame. Now, I did not see too many of the student submissions actually writing the month of December from the 2nd to the 4th, and I'm very happy to see that. Ideally, this needs to be very specific, 2-4, as the case might be. So again, that would certainly be part of the opening, or definitely needs to be included at the beginning of the body. Let's go ahead and take a look. Speaking of the body, everything here, it's kind of in the orangey color. It needs to be included somewhere in the body. Again, the opening is going to say the purpose. We're looking for a hotel. We need to know your availability. And then the body is going to present that stuff that you need to make sure that they can help you with. And so a meeting requires a large assembly room. Again, and then 4 smaller rooms. So you're going to have 270 people. You need to mention that. That's a definite must. You can't say about 270. You can't say about 300. Because if, let's say, for example, the hotel can only handle 260 people, and you say about 270, well, sure, they can do about, but you need to be specific here. So not only do you need to say you're having 270 sales associates in, but you need that larger meeting room that can hold 270 or more individuals. You also need to have those 4 smaller rooms, and if they know it's 270, they can divide it by 4 and find out if each of their smaller rooms can accommodate a quarter of the total. Again, you need to be specific here and let them know the number so they can do the math. You don't have to do that for them. Again, it doesn't hurt to mention that your associates are going to be flying in, so the transportation will be necessary. Again, you'll inquire about that. Maybe the hotel has it, maybe they don't have it, maybe they can suggest something, so you need to mention that. Also, audiovisual requirements, presentation, electronic presentations, you need to have those. You need to have those in each of the meeting rooms because that's part of the requirements. Let's talk now about the closing. In the closing, what we need to do prior to that, and actually I've got it part of the closing, and this really shouldn't fit here. There's this Tuscany thing, this Tuscany Exhibition Center. Now really that should be part of the body, but I notice here that I have it in the closing, and that's in black at the bottom. That really should be part of the body. It is not a requirement, so all your requirements, your meeting rooms, your AV, all that stuff, and transportation needs to be mentioned prior to this. The Tuscany Exhibition Kitchen is an afterthought. So if you are presenting your requirements as a list, it could be the final bullet or numbered item that you're looking for. Or you can make it a very simple separate paragraph, could be a one sentence paragraph. But again, needs to be mentioned in the body. Now, as far as the closing is concerned, you really need to also mention a call for an action. So, what I have here for your viewing pleasure is a potential final version. It's not the only final version. As we look at this, you look up at the top and you can see that we have a letterhead reserved. Remember, the letterhead can take up to 2 inches. And then immediately below the letterhead, you're going to have a date. I've got March 8th in here. I came up with a name, Tom Jones. I have the inside address, which is great. Everything you see here is single space. I noticed on a number of students they were double spaced. That might be an issue with the word, and you may not have really wanted it. But again, you need to configure so everything is single space, and you put in the manual doubles. Dear Mr. Jones, comma or colon, your call. And I start right with the purpose. The purpose of this letter is to request information on the availability of the Bellagio Hotel and Casino for our upcoming marketing meeting. Bingo. They read that, they know why they're reading this. And then when you say details follow, they're looking forward to that because that's what they're wanting to see. Body starts. We seek a hotel that offers both resort and conference facilities appropriate for the next sales meeting of Bare Essentials, and I'm giving my date, December 2-4, 2017. Again, not the month of December from the 2nd to the 4th, not December 2-December 4, comma. Now, let's make it concise, just bring it into the point here. Again, now I provided or requested my needs in question form. It could be question form. You can make a list of demands. I'll leave that up to you. But again, in this particular case, a list is probably the best way to present this information. Again, if you put it in a paragraph, the problem with putting in a paragraph all your needs is the person in their mind who's reading this, in their mind they're creating a list. So let's just go ahead and do that for them. So I'm coming up with some questions here. Does the Bellagio have a banquet room that can seat 250? This is a closed question. And yes, it can be answered with a yes or a no, but it's appropriate because if they don't, it's a deal breaker. You got to have that room. It's got to be able to seat 250. So a deal breaker, a yes or a no. The next question, can you provide at least 4 smaller rooms, each to accommodate a maximum of 75? Again, it's a deal breaker. If they've got it, fine. Let's move on to the next question. If they don't, thanks for playing. We'll find somebody else. Next is what type of audiovisual equipment and computer facilities are in each of the meeting rooms. Again, this is open-ended because you need to have it. You'd like to know what kind, because if you just made it a closed, do you have, and they said yes, the next logical question would be, well, what do you got? So you have to go back to them. Let's kind of, get it here before we get to that point. What type of transportation do you offer to and from the airport? Again, if they've got it, they're going to tell you. If there's other sources contracted, they'll tell you. If they don't have it, they'll tell you. But again, it's best to have it open-ended. What is this Tuscany? And now, here's the Tuscany thing. Now, I made it as part of the questions, but as I mentioned earlier, I'm using it as the final for the body section. So, what's this Tuscany Exhibition Kitchen, and how can it be used for team building activities? Again, I could have made that a separate paragraph, a one sentence all by itself. I could have said something about, I've read about this Tuscany Exhibition Center, please send me details. Fine. And I'll leave that up to you, but it needs to go in this order. Gotta haves and nice to haves. Finally, let's close this thing out. We require answers to these questions and any other information you can provide by, and I'm giving them a specific date, and I say here March 18, 2017. Next Tuesday won't work. At your earliest convenience won't work. No, by the end of the month won't work. Be very, very specific. I'm giving them 10 days from the date of the letter. It's snail mail, more than enough time to get back to you. Now, I also then give them kind of, a way to follow up if they have questions. You can use my direct line. Now, granted, I'm using a specific phone number here, and it's my direct line. The letterhead probably would have the general corporate line for Bare Essentials, but I have a specific. Give them a little bit of assistance to get it right to you. And again, I'm going to give them an email address. Close it off with a thank you. I have my sincerely. Now I have my signature in blue, again for electronic purposes. I got a scripted looking thing. When you make a hard copy, make sure you sign it. Okay, make sure it's blank when you print it, and then you sign your name. And I put my name as it would be, and then finally my corporate title of Special Events Manager. A couple of final thoughts here. You'll notice that I have it as a third person. It needs to be third person. I could have started off by saying I'm writing on behalf of Bare Essentials and then converted to we. But I need to keep it as third person. However, at the very end, you can't write to a general company, so I then converted back to a first person saying you can go ahead and write me. But again, these must be overall third person. I think that might be about it. I think all of the issues that I did see from the hard copies have been covered. If yours resembles this, now they're never ever going to be exactly the same. But if you start with the purpose, get right to the point, followed by some very overall information. It's a marketing meeting. It's for Bare Essentials, the specific dates, then the total numbers, and then that's the logical flow. Then we can get into very specifics. The one room, the 4 breakout rooms, audiovisual equipment, transportation, finally the Tuscany exhibition kitchen stuff. Again, that's kind of the logical flow of order of needs that you have. And then always make sure in your closing that you have that call for an action with a very specific date. One final thought is, should there be a CC in this? Could there be a CC in this? Well, we're going to talk more about this down the road, but usually in business you will have what we call a hard file or a tickler file, or it's any number of terms in which you will have an actual physical file in a file drawer somewhere that will hold hard copies of all the correspondences. Now, would you CC, or you could CC, or probably better yet BCC, it depends, the file. So in this case, you could have a CC : marketing conference file, which would be fine. We don't have an individual's name in here, so chances are you would not CC someone. But again, kind of keep in the back of your mind that down the road, you may want to keep a hard copy tickler file if you wish, in which case you're going to keep all your hard copies of all your correspondence, electronic and hard copy, and you could certainly CC those then. Anyways, I believe that covers it for now. A little long-winded, but it may be valuable to you. Again, compare it to your version. If you have issues or questions still, send me an email. We'll get together. Thanks. Have a great day.